Hello and welcome to your in-depth forecast for week commencing the 17th of January for the Sun or the Ascendant. As ever, I'm going to give you a broad overview of what to expect this week before diving deep and sharing in forensic detail for each of the 12 zodiac signs what is in store. So this week begins with a very potent full moon in the sign of Cancer. The sign of Cancer is governed by the moon. So the moon being here is, if you like, in its home birth. But this opposition with the sign of Capricorn is very marked because in Capricorn, Pluto, the planet of change, is very closely tethered to the Sun, and therefore the moon's in an opposition to Pluto as well as the Sun. When the moon and Pluto are in the mix in an opposition, that can create a polarization, and it can be quite difficult to find a balance. Now the moon's asking us to stay mindful as we punch our way towards our goals, ambitions and targets, very Capricorn energy, and very much the physical world. The Cancerian energy is reminding us that we must stay in touch with how it feels, and if something feels not so comfortable, even if it's given us some form of success or progress, just to try to reconfigure things so things are a little bit better aligned. And this energy will last for the next 2 weeks. If you'd like to know more about the full moon, you can join me for my deep dive video by seeing the link beneath this show. But all this week, Mars is actually forging a very positive link to Pluto, so we have a semi-sextile, and that's very energizing. Mars continues in the sign of Sagittarius, but there's 3 of the more draining, enervating vibe of Neptune, which really was affecting it quite badly for the previous 10 days. So I think energy can generally be a lot better. Also, Uranus has gone direct. Uranus has been in a very jagged, abrasive right angle with Saturn, and the great news is as the Sun moves on Thursday into the sign of Aquarius, the right angle between the 2 rulers of Aquarius, traditional Saturn, modern Uranus, actually stretches out to 4 degrees. Now when I do the sun sign forecast, I always take into account influences within 3-degree orb. So that's a very precise influence. So they're starting to stretch apart now, and they really have caused immense impact over the last year and given us quite a few sleepless nights, made us more agitated, perhaps seen us quite frustrated by the restrictions that may have been imposed upon us. But now things will ease a little bit. But the Sun moving into the sign of Aquarius joins up with Saturn, but also with the retreating Mercury, still in that retrograde. So the Sun moving into this area can mitigate some of the snags that Mercury in Aquarius in retrograde can create. So if there has been some tensions around friendships, or perhaps we just haven't heard from someone, perhaps we've been preoccupied with those more worldly aims and ambitions, then what the Sun's saying is that it's very important to stay joined together with others. Now as the week draws to a close, it's the Sun's turn to be in a semi-sextile, but this time with Jupiter. Jupiter, of course, has only recently left the sign of Aquarius the last 3 days of last year, so it moved back into its home zone of Pisces, but it's actually beautifully aligned to the Sun as this week draws to a close. So there may be some good news that we're not expecting. Perhaps someone we haven't heard from for some while is going to be in contact, or a good deed can come in our direction, or perhaps it's going to be us who does something more altruistic for another person. This is also a week when Venus, the planet of love, but also of loot, forges a very promising link with Uranus. If this rings a bell, it's because Venus is retreated in its retrograde to the point of reactivating its 120-degree enabling trine with the rather erratic energies of Uranus. But this is just saying to us, look, if we can think outside the box when it comes to our resources, and perhaps also our relationships, to try to enliven them with some freshness, then that's a smart thing to do. Now, if you're new to my channel, I would be honoured if you would subscribe. Please click or tap on the bell notification symbol. You can also get your free daily written horoscope fired to your device each morning by seeing the link beneath this video. Or if you'd like to order your 12-month forecast and get your character analysis based on your personal astrology, you can do so and get 30% off by seeing the link below. But please stay with me for your in-depth zodiac sign forecast. Hello Capricorn, and welcome to your in-depth forecast for week commencing the 17th of January. Now it's a big moment at the start of this week because of the full moon, because it means the moon's in your opposite sign. But for you, that's where you relate to people. The moon's about how we receive energy, show our emotions. So I think it is important for you to be just aware that someone around you, it could be a close relationship, it may be someone you encounter over the next couple of weeks, maybe experiencing you as being a very potent and powerful person. Now that may not be how you see yourself at all, but if you've had to show some real single-mindedness over recent times, and good for you if so, Pluto going through your sign, not a walk in the park, lots of transformational potential. But maybe if you have been quite bound up in what you need to do for you, someone may, neglected would be a strong word, but maybe feeling a little bit put aside. And so the next 2 weeks is a great opportunity to just ensure that your connections to others are all working as functionally as they could. Now Uranus is the planet of rebelliousness and freedom, and it's been in a really brilliant location for you over the last few years, but it has of course been snagging with your ruling planet Saturn over the last year. And by the end of this week they start to prise apart, the pressure's going to ease. But this is still a week where I wouldn't be too quick to splash money out on anything which is not entirely practically necessary. So that may be a bit counterintuitive to you anyway, because you are inherently cautious, but you certainly know how to have a good time, and no one's saying you shouldn't. It's just saying that maybe if you spoil someone, for example, that you really like, it may not necessarily be perceived or taken in the way that you meant it to be so. Now there is a great link this week, a semi-sextile between the Sun and Jupiter, and there's also a link between Mars and Pluto in your sign. So what I think from this is that your individual energies can be good for you in terms of propagating your ideas, but you still need to bring with you something that's a bit tender, and it may be a long-standing past hurt or some conflict or a separation with someone that may still need to be integrated in order for you to move forwards. But when the Sun arrives in the sign of Aquarius, the next sign to yours later this week, joining with the retreating Mercury and also with your ruler of Saturn, you're being asked to convert the individual ideas that have been so important to you recently into something more solid and tangible. But that's right up your street, because that is what you're really skilled at doing.